Hello, insiders, and welcome to this new episode of the EU Bubble Insider. Our guest today is Feriel Saouli, the CEO of Sec Newgate EU. Feriel, it's a pleasure to have you with us today.
The pleasure is all mine, Christoph. Thanks for having me.
And I would like to start with quoting something from your LinkedIn profile. Your LinkedIn profile says many things and shows how accomplished you are as a professional, but still, it also says ancora imparo, which means, if I checked it right, I am still learning. And maybe we could start this conversation by saying what you are learning right now, what a professional with your experience is focusing on these days um, in your growth process.
Well, very well spotted. Indeed, that's, I would say, is my motto, ancora imparo. Um, if you allow me, I'll go back in history a little bit to tell you a bit about the skills and the trainings that I've done, and then I will end with what I'm mostly focusing on right now. Um, this motto actually describes my mindset. And what this means is that I keep an open mind and I value every exchange that I have. There's an opportunity to learn in everything that we do. That's really my belief. But concretely, to answer your question about skills, how do I go about that? Well, the first thing that comes to mind is actually the executive master in international association management that I took a couple of years ago. And some people in my network didn't really understand why I went through the trouble while already having so many years of experience in association management. Whereas I was absolutely convinced that I would definitely learn something new, and I did. I needed to use my brain in a different way at that point, and I really enjoyed sitting on the benches at ULB. I enjoyed drafting an academic paper, so I really do not regret it at all, despite, I have to admit, the toll that it took on me, to manage that on top of my day job. It meant sacrificing, evenings and weekends, but it was also a great networking opportunity with peers. And I have to say that my cohort is still part of my network. We still, reach out to each other. So that's one thing. Something else that comes to mind is a course that I wish I had taken 20 to 25 years ago, and I mention it to anyone who's interested. It's called Learning How to Learn, and it's available on one of those online learning platforms. It's taught by professors that have a scientific and linguistic background with which they teach mental tools to master tough subjects. So with that course, I learned about, chunking, about what is called the Pomodoro technique, whereby you focus on something for 25 minutes and then you let go, you do something else, and then you go back to it. I learned about, diffuse thinking, the way the brain works in different ways. And I'm still using all of those techniques. So really learning how to learn, I recommend to anyone to look it up because it's brilliant. Now,
But if I
back
may
to,
just interrupt with one
of
question here,
course,
how do you know what to learn? How do you know what? Because you clearly made some unobvious choices in the direction of your career, and they proved to be right. So, how do you know what direction to choose?
interesting question indeed. So I fell into it. Association management by accident in a way. It was just an opportunity in the consultancy that I used to work for before this one. And by accident, I literally mean that one person was sick the day one of the association management clients came to the office, and my boss said, "Could you please step in?" I was in a different role back then. And I stepped in to the meeting, and next thing you know, the client said, "Hey, could we work with Feriel going forward?" We really clicked, and so I fell into it by accident. And there was no training in Europe to become, a certified association executive, unlike in the US. And so when this master became available in Belgium, in Brussels, I thought it was the perfect opportunity to sort of professionalize the skills that I had, let's say, um, garnered or let's say grown over the years. And when it comes to the other one, learning how to learn, someone mentioned it to me, and I can't remember who it was. And I thought, okay, this sounds brilliant. It sounds like a course that I have to take. But then another way is to simply, with all the offer that is available nowadays, just spending a bit of time on those online learning platforms and some of the courses, they will just speak to you. They will resonate with, some of the things that you have an interest in. So it's really referral and people telling me, oh, I've taken this course, I'm interested, it's very interesting and you should look it up. And if I may, the next one I have my eyes on, came on my radar screen exactly the way I have described. It's someone in my network that took it, and I thought, okay, this is interesting, maybe something I will do over the summer. And it's basically using data for decision making. And so to come back to your question, how do you choose those courses? It also echoes, with what you are working on a specific moment, and you feel, okay, maybe I need to dig a bit deeper into this and that topic. So voila, I hope that answers
You
the
said
question.
you said that you joined the association management industry by accident, and I think this is case in for many people who are successful, that in the right moment when those accident happens, you can call them opportunities as well, that you just take the opportunity, you don't ignore it. Would you say this that the fact that you were embracing, accepting those accidents and opportunities in your career shaped who you are today and how you could grow your career?
Yes, yes, definitely, absolutely. Um, it's the accidents, it's the opportunities, but it's also something specific about my personality in a sense that I get bored easily. Now that's a weird statement, right? But I do. And so I realize if I look back at my career, um, I moved on to, the next position out of boredom with the previous one. And also because the people around me recognized that, I could take on the next challenge. So I started my career by being the PA of my director, and I started by organizing his life. And then I got bored, and I spoke with him. I said, "I'm bored. Your life is organized. I want to do something else." And he said, "Do you want to move into office management?" I said, "Okay, if that's the next thing, fair enough. I'll do it." 2 years later, I got bored. And then there was this opportunity with the client that the colleague that was sick, and he said, "Would you like to step in the meeting?" I said, "Yes." The client said, "We'd like to work with her. Do you agree?" I said, "Hell yes." I was bored at that time with the position I had. And so I remember spending a whole summer literally with a pile of documents that was this high, going through all the issues from that specific association. It was an internal market issue, bringing myself up to speed, learning, understanding the industry. And after the summer, I was as ready as it gets, and the rest is history because one association led to another, etc.
I very much appreciate listening to this, because this only proves to me that my approach, which is more or less similar, I also get bored with projects often, and when I was younger, I used to see this as my limitation, that I cannot commit to something for my entire career. But you show that this is also something that can actually allow you to grow and do stuff that you like. And since we are talking about this, and since you said that you get bored often, maybe if I could ask you what you like the most about your job right now, and what is it that you don't like already? Maybe there is something like this in your current job.
Yes. Where to begin? um, what I like the most about my job and working in this industry is that, and this links back to my motto, which you picked up on at the beginning, is that I keep learning every day. I learn from the team, I learn from clients, I learn from each interaction with our stakeholders, I learn from all the readings, that we have to do. So that's really the main thing that I like. And as I said, I get bored easily, which means that I enjoy to be constantly intellectually stimulated and challenged. So I like the dynamics. I like the pace in this industry. I often say there is never a dull moment, and that's really a fact. If you work in the bubble, you know that we're constantly on. I like the diversity, the wide range of topics that we have to deal with or that we are exposed to, especially as a consultant, because you have to work on several industries at the same time. And something else that comes to mind is I like having a role, even if modest, in shaping change. And by that, I really mean, formulating strategies, working with clients, brainstorming with the team to deliver results, really having an impact and actually move the needle. This is really something I enjoy very much. And if I may, perhaps linking back to my role in association management. So at Sec Newgate EU, I have two roles. I'm the CEO leading the company and the team, but I also have client-facing responsibilities. I'm still an active consultant, if you will, and I'm the managing director of a series of trade associations. And so, what I like the most about that role is to transform associations. So really take them from a starting point and then bring them somewhere. Literally opening up. Digging my hands into the engine and looking at everything, the strategy, the governance, the membership, the communication, I mean, any aspects of the association, and then transform those associations. This is really something that I enjoy a lot. And am I allowed to add another reason, something else that I like in my job?
It's your interview, so you may
All right,
add
brilliant.
as much as you think is important to say.
Brilliant. Well, thank you. One of the reasons as well that I love to work in this industry and I love my job, it's because I truly believe that we are privileged. We are privileged to work with very smart people, both in terms of clients, because usually the ones that come to consultancies are leaders in their industries. They understand, how the game works. They understand how the bubble works. And so we are privileged to work with very smart people, but also the team. We are blessed with a brilliant team. I mean, they're bright, they're curious, they're cultured. And again, coming back to your first question about my motto, I feel like I'm learning every day from the team. Some very serious stuff, on the institutions or maybe on specific sectors that are very technical, very niche, and also some fun stuff. We have also institutionalized in a way that this fun part that I want to mention now, because every team meeting, we have a weekly team meeting, and each one ends with a rolling or a standing agenda item for the chair of the meeting to share a fun fact about themselves, about their city, about where they were born, or any random facts. And you get to learn things that go from, I mentioned the serious stuff already. Now I'm talking about the fun part. You get to know things about, Australia is wider than the moon. Here's a random fact that you can use as an icebreaker at the next dinner. Or, the origins of the word ciao. There's many Italians in the team. It just happens to be. And voila, one of the latest fun facts that the team shared was the origin of the word ciao, which actually comes from Slavic origins in the medieval times. But, I encourage you to look it up. It's a fascinating story.
And this very well leads to actually the next question I have for you about Sec Newgate as a company. I would like to ask you if there is something you would consider special, because Sec Newgate has been growing very impressively in the last years. I following agency PR news only in Europe but also globally. You can see those announcements that Sec Newgate is opening a new branch here and there. That's definitely impressive, and especially in times like this. So I wanted to ask, because I'm curious, is there something special about the philosophy of this group, or is it just run by good business people? Because that's also an option. So if you could tell if there is any
Yeah.
culture or any other secret that makes such impressive growth possible.
Well, thanks for noticing. Um, Two things come to mind when it comes to the group. I'm happy to tell you about us later on, about Brussels and our philosophy in Brussels. But as a group, two things come to mind. The first one is a drive. Besides the fact that, of course, I'm hoping, it's run by good business people. um, there's a drive to excellence across the board, and this really there is a we are on a mission, let's say, to deliver excellence, and this is really something that transpires throughout the whole, I mean, all the entities within the group. The second thing, which is very important, is our people first approach. We are really a business about people. And so the strategy is really to equip ourselves or build teams of, as I was mentioning before, very bright, entrepreneurial, smart people. And when you operate with those teams, then the result is what you see.
So now within this, how does your style as a leader? What's your approach to leadership, and how do you make it work for you and your team?
I might surprise you by saying I believe I'm an incomplete leader. And what I mean by that is that I know that I do not know it all. And I would say my biggest strength throughout my career lies precisely in being aware of my weaknesses, and knowing who to reach out to make up for them. That's why I refer to myself as an incomplete leader. In terms of my style, I would say that I'm not hierarchical. I'm rather collaborative. And this may be due to the fact that I grew into this position from within the ranks of the company. I first joined as a director to set up the association management practice, and then I became VP of operations, and then COO, and then eventually CEO. So I believe this may be where the collaborative approach comes from. Um, I would also say that I'm caring. It's also one of our values. And some people often say, oh, but it's one of your values because you're a woman. I don't know about that. I am convinced that there must be caring men out there in the trade, right? But it's definitely one of our traits and one of our values. And I can think of two ways in which this influences the way we operate. First, when I became CEO, I shared with the team my vision for the company, or what my vision for the company was. But later on, I involved the team to come up with our purpose, which is the statement that we share externally. Our vision and mission are internal, but the purpose is something that we share externally. And I organized a brainstorm later on with the seniors, which is a classic. I mean, everybody does that. But also, and that was the first in the company, with the medias as well. So the next level, because no one knows it all, and we are blessed with a very smart and bright team. So it would have been remiss of me not to involve them. Second, that's very important because, again, I said all we have is our people. This transpires, or it has a very clear impact on the type of profiles that we recruit. Because it's important that we make sure, we hire people that will thrive with the collaborative culture that we have created. So I mean, we are very supportive of each other. We care about one another. We help each other out. And I hear from the team members that have prior experience that we are very humane. We're different. Um, and then maybe, in the way it influences the way we work with our clients, I would say, again, the collaborative approach is reflected in that we really position ourselves as partners of our clients, not a, client supplier relationship. We really position ourselves as partners. and we embrace their challenges. We care about them. We've developed a specific methodology to work together with our clients, which has a couple of steps that we take to make the most out of it. And something else, I mean, another way that this, let's say, transpires in the way we work with our clients is that I touch base personally with each client. So not just my own, as I mentioned, I have client-facing responsibilities, but all the clients of SecNewgate EU across all the team. So I set up calls with them to understand how we're supporting them, what they're struggling with, and how we can help them deliver on their internal objectives, because they have their internal stakeholders that they have to, speak to. And we really try to understand exactly what our clients are facing. And if I may, maybe you asked me, about my leadership style. Another element that anyone working with me would say is that I set very high standards for myself to begin with. But that it transpires throughout the whole company because, I have very high expectations when it comes to the quality of what we deliver to our clients. So that's definitely something that I would say has an impact.
I will go back to this when I also ask you about work-life balance. It's a recurring question in this podcast, but and it's an important question to ask to someone who tries to maintain high standards of the work they deliver. But we will get to that later. Now I would like to still get into this understanding of how you approach your leadership and also the relationships you build with clients, because Brussels is a very specific arena for especially for comms people, because it's a melting pot of cultures and languages, not only European cultures and languages, but also a broader international perspective. And within that, you have to, first of all, make it work together to deliver projects in a team, but also the project themselves, the work you do for clients also sometimes has this factor of multicultural communication or multilingual communication. What's your approach to that? How to make it work from your perspective?
This is an excellent question, and you may have picked up on the fact that I'm an interpreter by training and a linguist at heart. I trained in French, English, and Italian. I speak a bit of Spanish. I usually pretend I speak Portuguese when nobody can test me. I was born and raised
Tudo
in
bem?
Algeria. Tudo bem, tudo bem. Yeah,
That was
I
good.
did not expect that.
You passed the test.
Thank you. Obrigada. So I was born and
Nada.
raised in Algeria, so which means I also speak Arabic. In fact, all my education at school from the age of 5 to 18 was mainly done in Arabic. All this to say that I'm very aware of the challenge to communicate, to audiences that are multilingual and multicultural. Now, coming back to your question, it's very important indeed to recognize that there is no one size fits all approach, if you will. And communication needs to be tailored to your target audience. And I do apologize for stating the obvious, because of course everybody knows that. But what it means concretely for us is that, materials have to be developed in multiple languages. You need to be aware of that. They need to be adapted and, to align with the cultural nuances of different stakeholders. That supposes that one has done their stakeholder mapping covering that dimension. It's not always the case. So very concretely for us, what does that mean? Is that we very often test our messages with focus groups that are as diverse and representative as possible, before rolling out any campaign. So we test them. We also try to hold meetings with stakeholders in their own language. If possible, and talking about associations, very often the board will say, well, who will attend that meeting? We try to understand who's attending from the other side, and then we pick whomever speaks the language, because you can connect better, you can read better, let's say, the body language and the cultural nuances and differences from the stakeholders that you are talking to.
So Feriel, with over 2 decades of experience in managing associations, both as a consultant, insider, manager, so you've done it all and you've seen it all, but most of all, I think you've seen how the industry professionalizes. So, what has changed, and what are, from your point of view, the key developments that have happened that we could all learn something from?
A lot has changed over the years when I look back. I have some experience working with professional associations, but the main bulk of my experience is with trade associations. The first thing that comes to mind is an awareness of the profession of association management. When I started working as an association executive, hardly anyone knew it was actually a profession per se. And we discussed it, with your first question. I mentioned this, this master in international association management. When I started, you could get certified in the US with the American Society of Association Executives, but that was not the case in Europe. Things evolved in the past 10 years or so with this, again, this master that was launched in Brussels at the Solvay Business School. I gather it's on hold this year, but hopefully it will start again. So the first thing that changed is an awareness of the profession, that really it is a profession per se. And with that came a professionalization of the profession, so an awareness and then a professionalization of association management. So I alluded to it with a certification. If you get a proper training, you become more professional about what you do. Um, but very concretely as well, associations, now are using technology to run associations more efficiently. Everybody has, or most associations have what we call in the jargon an AMS, which is an association management software to manage the large amount of data that associations sit on, their membership databases, managing their back office in terms of, whatever tasks are needed, issuing membership invoices, etc., which all frees up time from association, let's say, managers to provide more added value services to the members. Another area that really has changed drastically over the years is events. And I think you can probably relate to that. Events have changed in many ways. Associations have an increasing awareness before going into the formats, but association have an increasing awareness in terms of the sustainability of their events, the legacy of their events, the impact that they have on the communities wherever they hold their events. This was not the case 20 years ago. And when it comes to formats as well, I alluded to the fact that, they have changed, and especially since COVID. COVID has been an accelerator of how event formats have changed. We had to rethink the way we conceived events, how we deliver them online or hybrid, how we create value for the participants, what their experience or journey might look like before, during, and after the event, how you create those special moments, those memorable moments, especially considering the competition that one has in Brussels for attention of all the stakeholders. But that would probably grant a podcast of its own, I guess. I can think perhaps of two other areas that have changed a lot when it comes to association management. There was a time, maybe 20 years ago, when members would rely on their association to have access to information and content. But then with the internet, suddenly everyone had access to a lot of information at their fingertips just by, doing a quick search on the internet. So associations had to redefine their value for members. Why do you join an association if you can get all this information online? So really associations had to go through a process of redefining the value that they bring to members and find different ways of serving them. They had to become smarter at the way they share content with members, etc. And this leads me perhaps to the next big change which is data and data analytics. So, as I mentioned before, associations sit on a lot of information, and over the years, they've had to become more savvy in terms of using that information. As I mentioned already, they equip themselves with tools to allow them to gain insights into their members, to better understand what they want, to segment them, understand how members engage with the association. And thanks to the technology that they have now, associations are better, at targeting the members and the content that they deliver. They automate, the way they go about, curating, for instance, the content. And the data also informs the wider strategies of the association. So those are, I would say, some of the main changes. And of course, like any other association, I'm sure we'll talk about AI at some point, but associations are grappling with AI and they're trying to understand, again, how to make the best use of that for big picture things, but also for, let's say, automating or going faster, bringing more efficiency, let's say, to some of the day-to-day tasks.
Does this also mean that there a change happened in the balance of resources and time allocated to internal versus external communication in association management?
Ideally, yes. Ideally, yes, because of course not every association is equipped in the same way, but generally speaking, yes. And this is where I would recommend any association goes, try to automate most of the recurrent repetitive tasks that nobody likes to do, but there are essential to free up time, from the team to work on more interesting projects, let's say. So yes, definitely, it's that balance between where you put your resources and where you use the tools to free up time from your teams.
So would you be able to point maybe the most for you obvious misconceptions or maybe some mistakes people make when they either launch associations or they start working at an association? So what are those probably most common misconceptions, mistakes people make in this business?
It's again a very good question. And anyone who has worked with me for a while has heard me say over and over again that not for profit is a tax regime, it's not a business model. And what I mean by that is that associations can and should be managed as professionally as for-profit businesses. And so you should have the same level of, professionalism as when you run a business. This means concretely having a clear strategy, a business plan, a mission, a vision to aspire to, a kind of roadmap that you're heading towards, and seek ways to create value for your members, but also capture that value for the association. So again, not-for-profit is a tax regime. It's not a business model. And one of the myths that I try to debunk linked to that is that, a lot of people think associations cannot make profit. Of course they can. But what they cannot do is distribute it to members. Instead, they should reinvest it in projects for the association. And you would not believe the number of people that really think just because it has the name not-for-profit in the acronym, that it means you cannot make profit. No, you can run an association in a profitable way, but of course you cannot distribute the profit. You have to reinvest it.
I think this
And
is very smart. This is, I'm sorry to jump in, but I can
of
just
course,
imagine that doing profitable events is one of the ways an
of
association can
course.
make money, right?
Of course, it's one of the ways that indeed you generate revenue for an association. I mean, let's face it. What are the ways, the streams of revenue for an association? It's membership, it's events, it's journals for scientific, organizations that have publications. It's sponsorship, partnerships, and fundraising. So obviously, events are a very important way to generate revenue for associations, and they better be profitable, because nowadays it's really hard to convince people to put money on a table with pressure, etc., for associations. So you really need to be creative about how you generate revenue for associations. And if you allow me, there's another let's say another thing I would like to say, is another mistake that often people make is to forget that associations actually belong to their members. They don't belong to the management, they don't belong to the board, they don't belong to any other individual. Our role in managing these associations is to be member-centric, is really put the member at the center of everything that we do and ensure that member benefits drive the association, not any individual's agenda. I think that's really fundamental. It's really a compass. It's really putting the members back in the center. What do members want? Why do they renew their membership dues every year? Why do they come to the association? And that should be the driving, let's say, element in anything that we do for associations.
So now I would like to ask you if you could name and maybe explain why you chose this as an example of something that was probably the most challenging campaign or project that you have worked on in your career.
I can't think. I can't think of a project or a campaign per se. What comes to mind is a situation. And the situation that was extremely difficult was actually terminating a contract with a toxic client. And so that has been one of the most challenging, let's say, episodes that I can think of. And it was the toughest decision I've ever had to make in my entire professional career. But I would do it again without any hesitation, anytime.
I mean, this is a bit surprising as an answer to this question, but it's I love it
Okay.
because
Okay.
this is definitely something that we need more in this agency service business. Toxic clients should be cancelled. I believe that, but that means also losing profit for business. So if you went through that experience, maybe for the benefit of other leaders of consultancies who are facing a similar challenge, was it worth it? And what was the benefit for you and your team of making that decision?
Absolutely worth it. It was tough because it was saying goodbye to a six-digit budget. So it was sizable, it was considerable. It was not easy, and I had to weigh the pros and cons. But as I said a couple of times already, all we have is our people. And so what we have to do as a leader is walk the talk. And, being confronted with a situation where part of the team, I mean, the consultants that were working for that client were being bullied, and I'm choosing my words, I'm very consciously choosing my words. At some point, you lose your credibility as a leader if you say, we are a people business for all of you guys, but not you three. You three are generating profit, and it's fine. We will ignore it. We will not look at it. And so it was a very tough decision to make. It was absolutely worth it because it went a long way with the team, and I think it did wonders in terms of the cohesion of the team again, because we were walking the talk. So this was a
Did you
very
communicate
important.
it to the client that this is the reason of canceling the contract, or did you just say goodbye? We're not working with you anymore.
We said goodbye. We said goodbye. I mean, there had been many instances where, we were trying to explain that, this behavior is not acceptable, but it was extremely difficult. It was the attitude of the client, someone who was used to being, um, yeah, to behaving like that and never having anybody, stand up and say this isn't right. So it was difficult. I got involved at some point. I was not working for that account initially, but at some point I said, I'm going to step in, between the client and the team. So I witnessed it firsthand, and I was absolutely shocked with the interaction, and that's when I took the decision. Just a couple of months into becoming CEO, so not something instinctive to make. You're looking after profit, and you're looking at the numbers, etc. And one of the first big decisions was, let's say goodbye to a six-digit budget. But I'm building for the long term. I'm building, the team, the loyalty of the team. It's important, for them to know that, bullying is not accepted, no matter what the budget is and no matter who the client is. And we
I'm sure
know
that
that
the team appreciates,
I
and
think
and
they
I'm
do.
sure it paid off in the long term.
I think they do. I hope they do.
So, Feriel, we are now in this very specific year for the Brussels bubble that comes back every couple of years, which is election year, and we for many stakeholders within the Brussels bubble, it's a year of reviewing strategies. And if you could shed some light of how you see the future of Sec Newgate, and if you have some ideas how to make the best of the upcoming, without of course sharing secrets, but what is your vision of growth of, if not Sec Newgate, because I'm sure there are some secret plans, but maybe the industry within this new parliament, new commission, but also with new times, with digitalization and everything going on.
So when it comes to Sec Newgate EU, we have a wide range of expertise in a variety of sectors. Okay, so I mean we are known for our credentials when it comes to the dual sustainability and digital transitions. In terms of sectors, we have great credentials in energy, chemicals, trade, tech, to name a few. With the upcoming elections and change of guard at the Commission, we are gearing up already for a very different legislative term. We expect, and I mean, everybody in town knows this, we expect a greater focus on the competitiveness of the EU while the Green Deal goes into the implementation phase. And we don't believe it's going to disappear. It's going to stay there, but it's going to be different. And I think I mentioned that our purpose was to shape change. My vision for the growth and the evolution of Sec Newgate would be, playing on those words, would be navigating change and shaping futures. And to do that, what we are, let's say, the way we are preparing for that is that we are strengthening our expertise in emerging policy areas, or areas that we believe will have an increased importance under the new mandates. And any observer in Brussels would know what they are, and continue to position ourselves as thought leaders in those areas. Concretely, we ensure that we have the right team in place. We invest in training the team, in upskilling them, preparing for that, what is coming in the next few months. That also means, investing and integrating advanced analytics to inform our strategies even further. I mentioned some of the things that we do already, and we cultivate our network, old and new, because you know how Brussels is. I mean, even people that do not run again for elections, you're likely to come across them in a different function or a different setting. So we really cultivate the network, and maybe also from a more institutional point of view, we try to deepen our understanding of the future parliament and coalition building, because the next parliament is going to be very different. Now, I don't have a crystal ball, but again, it's just reading and listening to everything that is happening and observing, the various national elections that have already unfolded in Europe, we can already tell that building coalitions is going to be different with the next mandate. So we're deepening our understanding of how that is going to work. What we're also doing and we have issued a series of papers on a variety of sectors that we believe will be key in the next legislature, and we're looking at the state of play, and we're recommending already to our clients what they should do to position themselves very early on. There's again a myth or a mistake that sometimes people do during election years, and I'm not going to say how many rounds of elections I've gone through my career because that would age me instantly, but there is a lot to do. The parliament now is going through its last session, but there are a lot of things to do in terms of building relationships, etc. So that would be it, let's say.
Yes, we are actually recording this interview on the day when the Parliament has his last session in Strasbourg. And a follow-up question to this that I have is, if you hear this fear that AI will take our jobs, which is to some extent, I think, justified because it will take some jobs. What's your response to that fear when you hear it? Maybe also from your staff.
So I don't think it will happen. I heard someone say, or maybe I read it, I don't remember what the context, but I think I heard someone say, AI will not replace us. We will be replaced by someone who knows how to use AI better than us. And that, I believe, is very likely to happen. So AI will not replace us, but somebody else who knows how to use it better than us is likely to replace us. We need to understand how it works. We need to use it. We need to embrace it, or else, we run the risk of being left behind because others are doing it. Others are embracing it. We just cannot ignore it. We had
Ancora
the
imparo.
team. Ancora imparo, absolutely. And we had the team attend a training on AI. I attended it myself as well, because I thought it was very important for me to understand what the potential was and in which areas, AI could help us perhaps gain efficiency, go faster, etc. But it's just a tool. It's just a tool. And what we're doing is, trying to understand how we can transform our profession, where we can use it. But again, a word of caution, we have to use it extremely carefully. There's two things that worry me with AI. One is the risk of becoming lazy. And what I mean by that, there might be a temptation to rely just on AI and ask questions and then copy paste. No, we should, and that's perhaps the second thing that worries me from AI, is we should keep our critical mind. We've all heard about the hallucinations about AI. So again, it's important to keep one's critical mind and not just copy paste. Sorry. Yes, it can bring efficiency to some tasks. It can help with quick ideation, get a quick explanation of, what is this, what is that. But at the end of the day, if you understand how it works, it's just a large language model. And if you understand how the answers are built, then you also understand the limitations. So again, to be used, but with caution.
If I may, I absolutely agree. If I may just add one thing, how I see it is that people who are good at their job can get better at their job with the help of AI if they embrace it. And people who are faking their jobs or they're not enjoying their jobs, they're not investing in learning, they will probably have to face some bigger challenges than so far. Now, I have this. Someone said this is the Harry Potter question of this podcast because I asked my guest if they would have this possibility to use a magic wand and change one thing in how the Brussels bubble works, something that could be potentially a game-changing improvement for the industry. Let's say you get this magic wand right now, what would you change?
Um, it's actually quite easy, and it's inspired by recent events, I would say. So I'll be very brief. Um, it's to make sure that there is a real connect between policymakers and the real world. I hope that doesn't, sound wrong. Um, it's really making sure there is an understanding of what it means to, say, manufacture in Europe in order not to create unnecessary burdens on industry or, sectors, or worse, create adverse unintended consequences. And this is something that I have seen, with projects, regulations that are being drafted, where with the best intentions, but at the end of the day, you end up with something which can be detached from the reality, and that creates misunderstanding and which requires a lot of consultation and work and exchange to bring it to something which is going to boost the competitiveness of the EU and without creating unnecessary burden. So it's really this connection between the pen holders and the reality of what it is to make business in Europe.
I think this is again setting the bar high, but it would be a very important improvement. And because we are talking about setting ambitious goals, you said yourself, I think more than once in this podcast, that you are a person who is aiming always for the higher standards. You're setting high expectations for the team and for yourself. Now, when it comes to work-life balance, how does that connect to this? How not to end up being a workaholic, but a fulfilled and happy person, both at work and for the rest of your day?
That's a very good question. And if I'm honest, I have to be honest. I
You
am
have to be
not
honest.
sh- I have to be honest. I'm not sure I'm the best person to answer this question. I do work a lot. I work long hours. I always have. Um, I don't, and I'm not an example, but I'm being honest. I don't remember when is the last time I went on vacation without working, even if just a little bit, answering a short message to give guidance here and there whenever an issue arises. Um, so I don't really manage to disconnect. I don't think I have a very good, work-life balance, but I love my job. And it comes with it. It doesn't bother me so much. Yeah, sometimes I moan and I'm like, oh, this is too much. But at the end of the day, I thrive doing what I do. So I like it, and I guess it fits my personality as well. This being said, I know that I need to find ways to recharge my batteries, and sometimes I feel like I don't know where the stop button is. My mind is constantly on. And you may remember I talked about diffuse thinking, the way the brain works. Well, that's how it works. Sometimes I'm busy doing something, I'm on vacation or what have you, but the mind is still ongoing. So I'm aware that I need to find ways, to strike a better, work-life balance. But I did something. Go ahead.
I'm not looking for an explanation how to disconnect from work, as this being the only good solution. I have moments of working a lot than I have to myself, and as long as it's doing something you love and you enjoy, then I don't think there is anything wrong with that. But then, as a follow-up question, what's your way to, because you said, about mentioned having the batteries charged. If you are going on like this for longer periods, how do you then keep your batteries charged? Because it seemed to be working for you. So how do you keep your batteries charged?
I don't know. I think my metabolism is done in a way, is in such a way that this is enough for me. I don't sleep much, but I guess I sleep enough for my metabolism to keep going on. But something that gives me a lot of pleasure and that I have started doing this year, which maybe goes back to the disconnecting part of the question, but it brings me balance and joy, is I play guitar. So I started playing guitar. I mean, I played guitar for 8 years, and I started again. I stopped for many, many years, and it actually gives me energy. It gives me a moment where the only thing I do is look at my score and think about where I put my hands on my guitar, and maybe without even realizing it, I recharge during those moments because I realize I get there and I'm tired, and then I go out of the class after 1 hour and I actually feel recharged. There you go. I mean, it's this is one of the things that I do and that I enjoy very much.
I'm a guitar player myself,
Ah.
so I absolutely appreciate this answer. It's a great way to both disconnect when you are just with on your own, but also it's a also team building experience if you know how to play and make people, for example, sing with you.
Absolutely.
Feriel, thank you very much for your time today. Anyone who listened to us, thank you for being with us, for watching us and listening, and please keep coming back to further episodes of the EU Bubble Insider. Feriel Saouli was our guest today, CEO of Sec Newgate EU. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Christoph. It was a pleasure.